This one time, I was in my bedroom. I was lying there on my bed. I think just fed up with the whole spiritual thing. Fed up with it. And I, for some reason, my eyes were darting around the room, and they landed on a chair. And what was seen, just with absolute clarity, and it was a very simple thing, actually. Very, very. I mean, it was the most simple thing. Was that it wasn't really a chair. No. We call it a chair. Actually, it's aliveness, it's oneness, it's life, it's God, whatever words you want to use, consciousness, awareness, whatever word, it's the source, whatever word. It was that dressed up as a chair. It was oneness dressed up as a chair, playing the game of being a chair. Oneness wasn't out there. It wasn't out there in the future. It was right there in and as the chair. Call it consciousness, call it oneness, it doesn't really matter. We can get so attached to these words. It doesn't really matter what words we use. We have to get over that. You don't even have to use the old spiritual language. I don't use the word consciousness a lot because I find it quite a heavy word. It sounds quite a spiritual word. It doesn't matter what you call it. Call it life. It was life appearing as that. There was no separate chair. That it was like life appeared as that, and it appeared as this. It appears as everything. It's consciousness playing all the roles, or however you want to say it. But it was right there in something as simple and ordinary and present as a chair. And at the time, this was totally shocking. It's hard to talk about because it was radically simple. It was the simplest thing on earth. And yet, to the character anyway, it was totally shocking because of its simplicity. It was shocking because of its ordinariness. It was a chair, for God's sake. It was a chair, and it's like everything that I'd been looking for. It was just there, and it was just there in a chair. It was like infinitely. It was a small thing, and it was a huge thing at the same time. It's very hard to put into words. And of course, at the time, there weren't any words for it. There weren't any words for it. It didn't need words. It was just that. It's just that. It's only later that the words came in, and now talking about it. At the time, there were no words, and at the time, the sense was that this will never be communicated. This will never be communicated. This is the moment you talk about this, you've kind of missed it. The moment you even say it's oneness appearing as a chair, you've kind of missed it. Or it's consciousness. You kind of missed it. It's that. It's just something as simple and as ordinary as a chair. But it wasn't just the chair. This was the thing. It was everything. So it was the chair, but it was also the carpet. It was the walls. It was the ceiling, the doors, the bed, the books. It was a sense. It was so funny. I'd spent years reading all these books, looking for the answer in the words, and actually, it was there in the book. It was the physical thing. It was It didn't actually matter what words. The words were just squiggles. You see, it's funny, but it was everything, and it was the body as well. It included the body. It included every sensation that was happening. It included every thought that was arising. It included the hands and feet and movement and color, and it was just everything. It was just life, life. And at that time, there just tears were flowing, because it was like, oh my God, it's this. It was like, my God, it's this. And there's also the sense, it's like, my God, it's this, and I've always known this. I've always known this. I've just been kidding myself my whole life. That was the sense. It was like, and there was also the sense that it was like, my God, Jeff had always been looking for something when it had always been right here. It had always been right here. It will always be right here. It's always been right here. Jeff had been looking for something. He'd been looking for something he couldn't have. He'd been looking for something he couldn't have. That was the frustration, that was the despair, that was the suffering. The shocking thing was that this really had nothing to do with anything that Jeff had done or hadn't done in order to find awakening. It just kind of severed that whole thing at its root. You know, that whole thing, it had just been a game really that had played out. This wasn't about finding anything. It wasn't about a special awakened state. It wasn't about awakened people, enlightened people. It just destroyed all of that. It totally destroyed it. There was this sense that this had always been known. That it's like there was something here that had always known this, and actually it had always seen this. That this is all it's ever been seeing. This is all it's ever been hearing. And it's like there was something very, very familiar about this. Like when I talk about it, it sounds like it was a new experience, a special experience that happened to Jeff. And this is when we're using language. This is how it has to sound, because this operates in the world of experience. This operates in the world of passing experiences. This operates in the world of what happened or didn't happen to Jeff. This wasn't an experience because there was no one there experiencing this. There was only this, you see. There was no experiencer. So you can't really call this an experience. That's what it sounds like when you talk about it. So this is why I wasn't going to talk about this for I think 2 years or so. I don't know, after this happened, because there's nothing to say. There is absolutely nothing to say. The moment you talk about this, kind of, you've made it into something special. Even talk about the chair thing. So there was this amazing experience with the chair, this amazing awakening. It wasn't that at all. It was nothing happened. That's the point. Nothing happened. Jeff had been waiting for something to happen. Nothing happened. It was a seeing through of that, waiting for something to happen. That there was no one there waiting. There was no one there waiting for something to happen. Everything that was happening was already happening. Nothing else could possibly be happening other than what's happening. Nothing else is possible. It was like, that was it. Nothing else is possible. Only this is possible. There is nothing else. There is only this. And this includes everything. Everything that's happening. So that just severs the whole thing at its root. And it was radically simple. Radically simple. What was also seen was that this can't be owned. This is totally free. I am this. You are this. Everyone is already this. You cannot not be this. It's almost like you have to kid yourself your entire life that you're not this. And part of the kidding yourself is becoming a spiritual seeker, looking for this. And there was also the sense that, not a single word I say about this is true. That's why there cannot be any teachers. So now I find myself, years later, talking about this and trying to articulate this, knowing the whole time that not a word I say is true. But at the same time, words are quite beautiful. There's nothing wrong with words. And you see, for a long time, as I said, I wasn't going to talk about this because I thought that, back then I had this concept that not talking about this was better than talking about this. Somehow silence was more true. But there was still a concept there, subtly separating silence from words, silence from noise. There was still someone there who thought it was better to not talk about it because somehow that was more true. But what's seen these days is actually that, look, the words come or they don't, and it's like the silence isn't separate from the noise. The silence isn't separate from the words. So it's you know, you could find a million reasons. You could find a million different reasons why we should never ever speak about non-duality. I could reel off a list of a million reasons why I should never say another word about non-duality. And yet, you know, why not? When it's seen that this is a play, this is a play of being, a play of oneness, then why not? Why not? You know, why not attempt to talk about this? And at the same time, knowing full well that you can't. So that's why I always say it's not about the words. If you latch onto these words, it's only going to result in confusion. So it's really not about the words. I always say, you know, I'm not a teacher. As I've said, I can't possibly be a teacher. This isn't about Jeff teaching you something. This isn't about Jeff giving you something new. It's about reminding you of what you know. That's all it is. It's not a spiritual thing. This is like, in a way you could say, it's the end of spirituality. You know, the end of spirituality as we know it.